Hi there, welcome back to the next portion of post-traumatic stress disorder. Right, what I'm going to talk about now is an eclectic number of situations, including one that is by a very well-known author and doctor with regards to addictions in the Vancouver, British Columbia area. It's Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a very well-known author on the subject as well. He's written in the realm of The Hungry Ghost, The Nature of Addictions, which was, I think, Close Encounters with Addictions, as well as When the Body Says No. He wrote an article, or part of an article, that was about attachment versus authenticity, and I want to just read a couple of points to that. He said that when faced with the choice of either attachment or authenticity in their relationships, many people will go for attachment first, seeking recognition and validation from others instead of being able to give it to themselves. I personally think is correct about that. He also mentions, and I believe too, that there comes a time for all of us who want to be holistically healthy to choose authenticity over attachment. It can be lonely at the beginning, but seriously, what could be lonelier than spending your life wishing and hoping and scrounging for acceptance from others, only to lose your own self in the process? And that is often what has happened as a result of shock and trauma. We often are in a state of survival or surviving rather than thriving. And of course, who amongst us doesn't want to really thrive? But people can get comfortable in their discomfort once they know how to operate and get through another day, regardless of the pain, the turmoil, and the cost. So if you look at some of the goals of the sessions we're going to be having, especially the exercise sessions, they are to move a person from surviving into thriving and to have a return to spirit. And by that I mean their spiritual nature, but also in their own personal essence, to be rejoined with that, because many people have been dispirited by trauma. They've actually literally been separated from themselves. And if you look at the Latin for alcohol, it is spiritus. Which is actually a state of artificial grace when you think about it. So people are seeking some state of grace, or like a warm blanket around them when they start to use too much alcohol or drugs. So they're essentially separated from the self. If you think of mood alteration, that's exactly what it's for. It's covering up anxiety, fear, panic, desperation comes in, and so they've found something that actually works for them. And I think if you also look at someone once said to me that every behavior has a positive intent behind that, and that's a little hard to deal with when you think, well, why would someone deliberately abuse or harm someone? And even with that question where we say why, we could change it to what good things does someone get from that? And then you can answer that by saying power and control. Not acceptable, not healthy when it's under those means, but it makes everything understandable. Instead of taking the question as to why, if we can just say what good things, even when we're asking ourselves, what good things do I particularly get from that? So if you think about alcohol and drugs and how we handle traumatic situations, we can understand why we may have found something to use to mood alter, to step aside from that, especially pain, emotional, physical pain. However, there is a cost, and that cost is dissociation from the authentic self. So in fact, a big part of the goal is reconnection with the self. And how do we get to a reconnected state? Well, it's by remembering, bringing the members, the parts of the self together in a sense, and releasing those energy packets that have been built up and locked inside. So the way I look at it is, if we were to take a sort of a metaphor, instead of popping a balloon and being sort of overwhelmed and subsumed or consumed by all of this stuff, it's almost like we need to slowly release stuff, especially if there are multiple instances. If there is one incident only of, say, trauma or shock, then popping a balloon is exactly what we need to do by doing this work. However, if there are multiple instances, then it's like a slow release of the energy that's been stored inside. That means at a pace that is safe and healthy for ourselves. I wrote a book called Rapid Recovery, Accelerated Information Processing and Healing, and it's all about energy medicine, and it gave tools, techniques, and tune-up abilities in that book. And it was based on Dr. Roger Callahan's work that became Gary Craig's work, and a lot of other therapeutic tools. And a lot of what I'm talking about is actually in there, and you'll have access to that through some of the documents I'm putting on this particular course. And when you think about it, if you end up not only having the techniques and tools, but the ability to self-process this, or as a counselor, therapist, etc., to be able to assist other people, and you realize that the cost of this course is actually less than half the cost of going to one single therapy session. So that's not too bad, as long as it produces the results that you desire. Remember, I said effectiveness is the measure of truth. So the next portion of this is going to be, what do we need to prepare for the work of cleaning and clearing these energy packets? So please bear with me. I'll see you for the next lecture.